and so I don't want to put myself on top of all the questions. I think that a few significant differences came out from the two approaches, the Istat approach, so to say, and the OECD approach. Maybe the differences are not so dramatic at all, but I just would try to stress one point. The point is that in the Istat approach, so to say, we have all the indicators there, and we find ourselves, if I interpreted well what Marco was saying, to ask in the municipalities, to stimulate the municipalities to find a use of these indicators in the policies. While in the OECD approach, especially in the case studies, we have the reverse problem. We have the proposal of policy-guided indicators and the problem of putting them in a more general and theoretical approach. So maybe the differences are not so dramatic. Maybe there is hope for a convergence, but the differences are there. Please now just ask questions, and I also stimulate the regions from the other case studies to complement the very good presentation by Jouke. Yes.
From the Department of Statistics in Bologna. I have a question for Paolo, and maybe I don't understand how you have obtained or how you plan to obtain the data, the information. Maybe you use a top-down method, or I don't understand this point. I would ask you if you have considered the possibility to use the small area estimation method to obtain indicators, because there is a large literature on this framework, and for example also for the cross-dimensional indicators, in the income-based indicator, for example, studies, there are studies that focus on the household type and poverty or inequality indicators.
Thanks for the question. Well, the data, we have to distinguish two things. The data we already have, that we already published and will be completely public from the 6th of October, are already there. And as a result of the work, they come from different sources. Okay, we didn't use until now small area estimation indicators, because now we are working at regional level, so TL2, NAS2 in most of the countries, and in this case, for this in particular units of analysis, this was not necessary yet. We thought it was not necessary to go in this direction, but for the future steps, so for example, going into assessing well-being at metropolitan level, it will be a way to consider seriously, of course. Regarding the sources of this data, most of the indicators come from the National Institute of Statistics of the various countries. So what we did is working in our working party with all the representatives of the 34 Institutes of Statistics and agreeing on indicators that everybody could provide to us. So this is the main source. For income, it was a little bit different, because for income we made the estimations of income distributions, for example, using a national survey, household income surveys. So again, this was possible, it was barely possible at regional level, depending on the country, with some exceptions and some problems that we encountered, but as soon as we want to go further with small definition analysis, we have to consider other techniques. Other indicators, for example, the air quality comes from different destinations. Again, it comes from global raster data that are then weighted with other global raster data on population. So existing database that are merged and elaborated and then detailed at regional level. Everything is explained in detail in the guides that are published on the website. But the sources are almost, I would say that 85% of the indicators come from National Institute of Statistics.
More questions?
Yes, Johanna Lundström from the region of southern Denmark. Thank you for the interesting presentations. I have a question for Marco about the URBES project. Because in southern Denmark we also have a sort of top-down approach for collecting indicators. We do it for our own region and we use it for policy making on a regional level, but we also collect the indicators for all our community or local communities in the region, the municipalities. And one of our big challenges is to spread the usage, and especially for policy making on a local level. Could you tell us a bit more about your experiences on that point?
Thank you. Yes, we have seen also from the presentation of the Dutch colleague that this is a perspective. This is the perspective problem: how to make this growing conceptual and amount of information useful, really used. Well, this is a matter of discussion now with the municipalities involved in the second step of the URBES project, because the first step was let's produce together the indicators. Istat provides the indicators, the municipalities make the exercise to read them and to make a report about them, but once the report is published, what happens? And that's the problem. Well, now for the new step, we are trying to see forward the publication of the second report that is expected to be in the first months of 2015, and we have begun to speak with the municipalities. How can we use first of all disseminate the report in local events? First of all, disseminate the information, and the municipality must take a responsibility in disseminate the information. If they don't, they are out of the project, in my opinion. But we can work with other municipalities, because it is the basic level of involvement, of active involvement after production. Then we must look at some good practice that some municipality has begun to plan and to implement, because it's true, like Giovanni said, that it is basically a top-down approach, but for what concerns the production of data. But also at the initial impulse was given from one major, and so there is an involvement, and we say that this is the project not only of Istat, but of Istat and of the municipalities. And we know that, for example, one municipality is is planning to incorporate the urban information in a project of social accountability that is to be implemented in their website. They have a website, the civic network, they say, that is organized not according to the best area, but according to their areas of responsibility, of main responsibility of the municipality. For example, the ERSA, in which municipalities don't have a major responsibility, are not shown as a specific field in their civic network of internet. But the idea is that the citizen that are interested in one of their 8 main areas of interest can be guided to a section of their internet website, in which the municipality reports about the policy that are planned, about the main results for example, at the mid-term of the municipality, and also related to the urban indicators that are related to this area. For example, safety or economic development, which refers to income area of base or so on. So a link to be implemented in the website of in order to accomplish a continuous, they say, continuous social accountability. The citizen interested in one area receives a SMS that there are news in this kind of things. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Roberta,
thank you. Well, I had a question for Paolo. Well, first of all, congratulations, because this was a very interesting panel and presentations. I'm very pleased to hear that the EOC moved towards the development of this kind of data, because they are absolutely necessary for the scientific world. I have three main small questions for Paolo. First of all, do you intend to develop these cross-dimensional indicators more? Because I think that these are very interesting, with the fact that sometimes well-being is the result of, or even sustainability, urban sustainability, is the result of different dimensions and the way in which these dimensions interact. So this is a very interesting point that I would like to know whether you intend to develop this kind of indicators more. Second, there are some indicators that you showed that are conceptually negatively related to well-being. For example, the cross-dimensional indicators that you showed. So do you, let's say, put a way of how to statistically turn them around? Because this is a well-being indicator, but in reality they are negatively related to well-being. So whether you had some suggestions on how to link them in a positive way. The third one is, I didn't understand whether at the end of your exercise you arrived with the overall summative indicator or not. And if you do that, the methodology that you apply to, let's say, sum up the different indicators and dimensions of your Thank you.
Thanks for the questions. Regarding the cross-dimensional indicators, I will start from the last question because it's easier. We don't provide a composite indicator, a global indicator. It was a choice from the beginning. The OECD national exercise, the Better Life initiatives, does provide a composite indicator, but the weights are chosen by the people going to the site and saying,
So here the answer is
yeah.
no.
Pardon?
It does, but it does not.
Yeah, it does, but it does not. It allows people to reflect their preferences for their index of well-being. Since we don't have this subjective kind of platform, we try just to assess dimensions by dimensions. So we will have 9 different scores, okay, scores, because we transform the values of the indicator in a score from 0 to 10 through a very simple method, just a normalization. And so we don't provide a composite indicator, it's a choice from the beginning. This framework and this database that is available in the visualization, everything does not include the cross-dimensional indicators. Cross-dimensional indicators is something on the side that we are developing. Okay. So in this case, while the scores are all positive, from 0 to 10, it's all positive, so it's easy to interpret. It's just 0 worst off and 10 best off in a way. So why for this happens for the global, for the various dimensions. When we cross the dimensions, this is just an exercise that we are doing, and we also applied for some case studies when we assess the situation of the case studies. We also provided in the report, you will see some statistics, some of these indicators applied for several countries where it was available with some discussion, I think, but this is an ongoing process, so we want to develop definitely. I think that switching from a negative perspective to a positive one is quite easy at the end. If you consider you had spent, for example, more than 30%, you consider the person in the household has spent less than 30%.
What you publish is normalized indicators.
What we publish are the normalized indicators on one end, and we publish also the rough data. No, of course, raw data. Sorry.
No, because with the normalization,
No, of course.
it a lot.
No.
The outcome of the
No.
data.
We publish both the scores. So one can just not only visualize the score, one can also see the number of the score, but we also the associated value of the indicators is available, and is available also the formula, exact formula for that we apply. So very easy to understand, very transparent to the process. And that's all.
May I add something to this interesting question? I take off my hat as a chair and I put on my Istat hat. I'm working on BES more than URBES. And well, of course, we also have among the 134 indicators some which go in one direction, occupation rate, and one that goes in the other one, accidents at work. But it's no problem in inverting the sign when you work on composite or synthetic indicators. Going to that, there's a real and very hot debate currently in Istat about whether to work on composite indicators or synthetic indicators or not. Why? Because on one side, people say, well, it is a multidimensional phenomenon, so why reduce too much the dimensions? It's a problem. You can write a synthesis, but describing the trends or something like that, but giving a number to each of the dimensions, work or services or research and development is not useful. That's the answer. I see it in a different way. I'm not the one, but it's my position. The debate is not closed yet. That if we want to make the discussion on well-being relevant, we need to have one indicator. We need to give the possibility to the president of Istat on the 1st of March to go there and say, well, during last year, during 2015, GDP was negative, was minus 0.3, but well-being for the Italians improved a little bit, or both are negative also. The comparison with GDP is at the same time useful and misleading. It is useful because GDP is one figure, but behind that figure, the rate of change year on year, there is a lot of information, there is a scheme, there is a theory, and so on and so forth. Also, behind the number of well-being, there is a lot of information, but what we still lack is a theory behind that. The main problem that we, and when I say we, I say the community of statisticians, is posing to the scientific, the academic world, to economists and so on. We have maybe our Kuznets compiling the figures. We don't have yet our Keynes providing, or our Stone providing the general framework where our figures are. So I am in favor of a synthetic indicator, but I'm really aware that we need to work a lot before arriving to a satisfying framework for this figure.
I think this is a
Yes, go.
I hope you can hear me.
Uh,
Can you hear me?
If you want, you come here and
Okay, I will try from there, otherwise I will
Okay.
come here. I have a question about Judas. From a regional or urban scholar point of view. I think it's very interesting that the studies on this are going urban, are trying to address the urban dimension. And at the beginning you said that you involved the metropolitan cities, but then you are essentially working, if I got it well, with the central cities, the municipalities. So I was wondering, I wanted to know if you are also planning to work on a larger urban dimension, since the urban is changing a lot, and what we consider the city is no more related to municipalities, of course, or the central municipalities. The question is there a plan to go in that direction, or you have already worked on a metropolitan scale or a regional urban scale?
Yes, there is the municipality, there is the province, and there is the city. That is another thing. But the actors were the main city, that is Bologna, Firenze, Milano, Roma, and so on, as municipalities. The data easily available are mostly the province at the province level, and in some cases at the local level, at the municipality level. But for example, the labor force indicators, occupation and unemployment, employment, and so on a survey with a survey source are available at most at the provincial level. Then we have Florence, that they have their own municipal sub-provincial survey on labor force, but only they have. So in the first report we used also their data in their chapter, but it can't have much future this approach if only one municipality have this. Okay, it's an adjunctive information for their local purposes and no more. But there is the problem that now we have the new institutions that are the municipal cities, that there is the law, La Legge del Rio 2014, that say that the municipality cities, metropolitan cities are 10 in Italy, only in the regions, not autonomous regions, that's to say. and the borders of these cities are those of the provinces. So on one side they say, okay, also the province data indicator for us in some cases is enough. But other says, now I want the same indicator for all the municipalities, all the 80 municipalities of my, and so, and in other cases, in this sub-provincial analysis, you can have the need, of course, to look at the substantial, the geographical, town with the real borders of the metropolitan area, which is different from the metropolitan cities. At the moment, we focus on the province and municipality, main city level.
If the representative Eloisa coming from our case study from Sardinia can have a final comment if you want. If you need a microphone, you can come here. And,
no. Just perhaps we could share something of what we did, because in a way it can be related to something we are today. For instance, to north of Netherlands experience. We started our project with something we had already implemented at a municipality level, but of each 377 municipality of Sardinia, and we implemented multiple deprivation index that was based partly on Welsh experience and was used as a policy tool. So what we bring is that these kind of tools has both a political usage. For instance, it was used to distribute fundings by the regional council, and it can be used to study the territory as well. For instance, we used to target specific so-called internal areas, which is a project still on the way. Then we have an agenda to adopt a well-being perspective in the European structural funds programming that makes great use of result indicators and to combine the two perspectives. For instance, okay, some of our result indicators were actually belonged to the best set. For instance, people suffering from poor housing conditions. So our aim is to study the result we can obtain if we get them with the European funds, and to understand what meant for the citizens, for the community, for the social partners, and so on. So this is more or less all, and more on our site, for instance. Thank you.
So, one more question.
Okay.
The last one.
The last one. Thank you very much. I'm Stefano Raguna, town planner, researcher in town planning. First of all, congratulations for the best. The last year I quoted a lot of times best, because for me involving in town planning is the first attempt to evaluate cities and towns. But just one, we can say, suggestion. They care very much about sites. I mean, if I think, I work in the University of Reggio Calabria, the municipality that is composed by 15 small municipalities, 15 each, 50,000 each. And but I live in Rome, where And in this way, we really use what Jouke has said. We need a very multi-criteria approach. This is the very problem. But I think that you are on the right way. I mean, you are making the first steps and to try to evaluate that. And I don't know if it's right to have a very synthetic indicator. It's just a little risky. However, thank you very much. Continuing this way, it would be very useful for us as town planners. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you that you need to have a very diversified set of indicators. One synthetic indicator is dangerous. On the other hand, it communicates much better to policymakers and to the general public. So you have to have a compromise about this, but you need to have the underlying data. And I think it's very important that the OECD is very transparent in that from all the underlying indicators, the information is public, so you can check it. And that is necessary because sometimes at a higher spatial level, you get information, but you need sometimes more detail, and sometimes you need to go up. And also the interaction with the policymakers, it's complicated because policymakers sometimes they don't like long-term monitoring because they say nothing has changed if you produce each year a report which has more or less the same indicators. On the other hand, when the report is not produced for 2 or 3 years, they say, oh, we need to know this and this, how it has changed. So that's a continuous struggle between statistical officers, between policymakers, and between scientists. Yeah, I think this struggle will continue, but I think with good indicators which are comparable and which place regions in, also in international and in national context, this can help.
Thanks. I think we can close the session here. I would like to state 2 challenges for the future, so maybe this is also interesting for planning a next meeting with next AISRe conference. They are both related, to my opinion, to the difficulties of producing, going on the bottom-up approach where my sympathies lie. And the first challenge is a statistical one. We cannot expect a central producer to provide all the statistics, all the indicators, all the quantitative information which is needed at the local level. So what we need, in my opinion, is to move from a centralized production of quantitative indicators to a system of assessing the methodology and the quality of these indicators. I think that technology is helping us. Big data, administrative data, sensors and so on are assisting us in this direction. But this needs a big effort by the community of statisticians and especially of methodology, on the methodology side. This is the first challenge. The second challenge is a political or policy one. How can we tap on the knowledge that is, so to say, embedded in places, in the people, in the groups, but also in the history of the places. This connects to what Fabrizio Barca was saying in his first intervention yesterday. If you want to design change, we need to tap on this knowledge. But the knowledge is not just there to be reaped, it needs to be stimulated and produced at the local level. With these 2 challenges, I thank you all. I thank especially the panelists. I thank also the local organizing committee, which was really perfect. And I thank you all for being here for 2 hours with us. Thank you.